Hi, this is Mike Barnes, the financial first responder. Hey, have you ever thought about what is leverage? Is it a need versus a want? For the next few minutes, I'm going to talk to you about how you can get more leverage. Let's get started. So, by definition, leverage is typically refers to using borrowed funds to finance the purchases of assets. And what do I mean by this? In financial terms, it is to use some form of debt, meaning i.e. a loan or a margin account, to increase your potential returns on your investment. Now, I'm going to give you several examples that I'm going to talk to you about today. And I think that once we finish this, you're going to really know how to use leverage properly. No, I'm not talking about getting credit cards for personal use. I'm talking about opportunities to gain and create wealth. Let's go. So in this first example I'm going to use, you have $1,000 and you borrow an additional 9,000 to invest. Of that would be a total of $10,000, let's say. And let's say that you wanted to buy a stock. Now, what you just did, if you borrowed the money from yourself, a family member, or maybe from a credit card, I'm not suggesting you do that, but let's say you did. What you would be doing is you would be leveraging. You would have a leverage ratio of 10 to 1. And if the value of your stock increases, the return on your initial $1,000 investment would be or will be higher than if you had invested only the $1,000. However, if you look at my picture here, leverage also amplifies losses. If the value of the investment decreases, the potential leading to the loss is greater than your initial investment. Now, what do I mean by that? Because I'm not telling you to do this. I'm telling you it is an option. Okay. As a financial first responder, I need to tell you the pros and the cons. So you go out and you borrow said money, and let's say you buy it because you want to get into some form of investment. And let's say for some reason the investment does poorly or bad, and you actually have to pay that money back. You now lose the money that you put up plus the money that you borrowed. So you need to keep that in your mind firsthand if you're going to do something like that. Example 2. Now I like this example. And let me say this up front for purposes. I am a licensed financial advisor. And I have been a stockbroker. So I'm telling you from past experiences and present. So you want to purchase a rental property for $200,000. You have $50,000 saved for the down payment. Instead of using only your savings, you decide to leverage your investment by taking out a mortgage for the remaining $150,000. With this approach, you're using a leverage ratio of 4 to 1, which is $200,000 total investment over $50,000 deposit or down payment. Here's how it might work. So number 1, you put up the $50,000 as a down payment. Now, I have personally done this actual scenario when I was purchasing one of my rental properties. You take out a mortgage for $150,000 to cover the rest of the purchase price. And then you buy the property and start renting it out. So when I see this example, when I see these houses, I've looked at over the years how many people have become wealthy or built generational wealth by doing this same strategy that I'm showing you right now. Let's continue on. So now let's assume that this property generates $2,000 in rental income per month or $24,000 per year. After the accounting for your expenses, such as your maintenance, your property taxes, and insurance, we're going to make some assumptions that assuming that your mortgage payments, property expenses, and other costs total about $18,000 per year, your net rental income, your net, what you actually keep, would be $6,000 per year. So that's the $24,000 minus the $18,000. Now, if the property appreciates in value over time, your return on investment is amplified because you only invested $50,000 of your own money to control a $200,000 asset. It's important to remember that leverage also increases risk, as any decline in the property's value could lead to greater loss. Now, historically, back in 2008, we had what we call the great housing boom or recession or market crash, or you had all these failures between the Lehman Brothers and other places, right? And I experienced a time where our properties, the properties my wife and I own, actually decreased. And so I will never, as a financial advisor, tell you that just because you buy a property that it can't go backwards, because it can. And it takes some time for it to come back up. So you need to keep that in mind if you're going to do this strategy, okay? That what goes up can go down. And I'm telling you from experience, I've lived on both sides of this thing where I made money on the top end and I've lost value on the bottom end because of how markets turned out. But because this wasn't tied to a stock, but it was tied to a property, we continued to have rental income coming in where we could pay the mortgage even though our property value was less. So keep that in mind. Example 3, you own a depreciable asset, such as a commercial property, that you purchased for $300,000. The property is fully depreciated for tax purposes, meaning you have claimed all available depreciation deductions. Now, if you don't have a CPA or a tax professional that knows how to do this, you need to find one if you have rental property. Now, you want to use that asset to generate additional income by purchasing an investment property. You say to yourself, I'm going to find a residential rental property for $200,000 that you think or believe will generate positive cash flow. So wait a minute, what are you saying here, Mike? This is what I'm saying. You're taking an asset that you've owned and you've depreciated it out. You're still earning money on it because it's probably rented, all right? You're now taking cash out of there to purchase another property. Doesn't necessarily have to be residential, but it could be commercial. Now, how is that going to work, Mike? Financial first responder, since we're talking about this, Mr. Real Estate Man, Mr. Investor. Here's how it might work if you use your depreciable asset to finance the purchase. First, you're going to secure a loan against your depreciable asset, i.e. that property. Since the asset is fully depreciated, its current market value may not be relevant to for lending purposes. However, to the lenders, it might be considered as because they want to look at what's the income generating potential on this asset. And then the other part of that is they want to see if you have that credit worthiness for the loan. So you want to keep those two factors in play when you're thinking about this strategy. You use the loan proceeds to purchase the investment property. Now, there are some people out there that'll say, hey, I got investment property. I'm going to pay all my personal debt off, and then my credit score is going to be up. And now what you just did was you just took a appreciating asset, an investment with cash flow, used it to pay personal debt off, and now your tenants have to pay your personal debt off because your discipline level was off kilter. Stay on track. Use the property to buy additional investment property, not to pay personal debt. There'll be time for you to pay personal debt. We'll talk about that in another segment. Just won't be today. So back to example 3. The rental property generates monthly rental income that exceeds your expenses. That means you're making money, people, including monthly or mortgage payments, property tax, insurance, maintenance costs. Let's say the property generates $2,500 per month in rental income, and your total expenses are $2,000 per month, leaving you $500 in positive cash flow each month. Well, woo-wee, Mike, that ain't a lot of money, Mike. That's $500 a month. That's $6,000 a year. I could have did that working part-time. Yeah, you could have, but that would have been a lot of your time versus having the property. Remember, we're talking about leverage. Leverage other people's money and other people's time. So you use the positive cash flow to do what? Repay the loan secured against the depreciable asset. So now you've taken money that you made from the new property to pay the existing property back off. Now, you're going to have to talk to your CPAs and your tax professionals, but I can tell you one thing. You got some tax breaks here, baby, because there's some things that depreciation of the assets inside and outside that you need to talk to them about. I'm not a tax professional, but I've done this. So I'm telling you, there are some opportunities here. So here are my final thoughts on example 3, because I really need you to understand this basic scenario. This basic scenario is this. In this scenario, you're leveraging your depreciable asset to finance the purchase of an investment property that generates positive cash flow. This strategy allows you, your family, your business, to make use of any existing asset to expand your investment portfolio and increase your income. Now, this is powerful, people. You took something that you had already depreciated out tax-wise. You had one or two options. You could either sell it, or you could refinance it, take cash out, and buy something else. Right? Now, what I'm about to show you is a secret. It's something I came up with that I'm currently working on right now, this strategy. And I'm telling you right now, this thing is so powerful that it could change. It could change. And I notice I said it could, because some of y'all don't listen. Your heads are harder than brick walls. It could change your financial future for the good or the bad, depending on how well you listen. So let's go. Let's talk about a 12-month plan. Now, my grandfather was a contractor, and so I always saw blueprints around when he was building stuff. So here's a 12-month plan for you. Here are 3 examples to help you expand your real estate portfolio with the purchase of a multifamily property, a laundromat, or a storage unit facility within the next 12 months. Hope you're ready. Hope you're paying attention. Let's go. So when we look at this multifamily property, what do we need to look for, Mike? Because you've been in real estate for a number of years. Yes, I have. My wife and I have been in real estate since 2005. It's 2024. So what's that? Man, that's almost 20 years. That's crazy. So first, you got to look for the multifamily property in a growing rental market with a high demand and a low vacancy rate. Now, what's vacancy rate? I'm going to tell you right now, vacancy rate needs to be no less than 80%. Do not buy a property where the vacancy rate is 50% or 25% and expect to bring it up. And real estate agents, if you're listening, stop having people buy properties where the actual daggone vacancy rate is so low that they would have to foot most of the note plus buy the building and get people in. And don't tell them, hey, I can get people in for them, because you're not the one paying the note. They are. Food for thought. Consider properties with a mix of unit sizes. What do I mean by that? Now, if we're talking about multifamily is anything. Now, if we play Monopoly, okay, you would usually buy 4 green houses to get 1 red hotel. So in commercial land, commercial is anything over 5 units, okay? Meaning apartments, or spaces. Okay. So a duplex is not a commercial. A triplex is not a commercial. A quad is not a commercial. Commercial is 5 units or more. I can't make this more specific than that. Okay. So now that you know that, that means if we're talking about a vacancy rate, if you have 80%, that means that one of those 5 units is not being rented, if that makes sense to you. Okay. So keep it for food for thought. Okay. Because that would be 20, 20, 20, 20. Get it? 5 times 20 is 100. Take one of the units off, you're at 80%. Okay, got it. All right, so what are we saying, Mike? You got to evaluate the potential for increasing rents through property improvements or better management practices. There are systems and softwares out there. I have two property managers that run our properties, not including other people that I work with. But these property managers are responsible for the day-to-day operations, and then they talk to us when they want to confirm what repairs and things have to be completed. So you want to make sure that whatever purchase you do for a rental property, that if you make improvements, is it going to help with a better rental rate, right? Now, we want to calculate the cash flow based on conservative estimates on rental income and operating expenses to ensure the property meets your investment criteria. Look, people, stop buying rental property based off of what Pookie said, because Pookie is not licensed. Pookie think because everybody is buying property in a certain area, that's good. You actually need to find out what the city is actually doing. Are they giving it? Is it an opportunity zone? Are they giving any tax breaks for you investing in those areas? Are there any industries coming where people will have jobs? Because just because a person there's property that can be rented doesn't mean there are going to be jobs for people to pay the rent. Now, true, you may be on some of these programs with the government, affordable housing program, formerly known as Section 8. There, yes, you're gonna get rents on a consistent basis. And I thank God that I've been able to be a part of those programs, because during the pandemic, a lot of my friends weren't getting paid, and they were having to pay rent for a lot of people, or pay mortgages on properties for properties that people were living in. So you want to keep that in mind, right? So you want to calculate the cash flow based on the conservative estimates of rental income and operating expenses to ensure the property meets investment criteria. I can't say that enough. That's the second time I said it. If I said it twice, that must mean it's a clue. Now, enough about that, Mike. Let's talk about these laundromats. Okay, so research locations with high population densities and limited access to laundry facilities, such as apartment complexes or areas with high percentage of renters. Now, if you don't know this, I started looking at laundromats because my wife and I bought a certain unit, I'll say, and this unit was supposed to be top of the line, supposed to be state of the art. It took so long after the first time it needed to get fixed. We had to wash clothes. So we had to go back to what we did when we lived in apartments and lived in college and stuff like that. We had to find a laundromat facility. And so I started looking at, because I was like, wait a minute. These things got to be cash cows. If you're paying for one load, you're paying $13, $14, down to $3 and then 25 cents for 7 minutes to dry clothes. So you want to look for laundromats with a history of a stable or increasing revenue, indicating a strong customer base. Now, there are franchises out there that you can buy laundromats from. Currently looking at some. There are places that you can actually go to find laundromats for sale. And I can tell you right now, it is a cash cow. It is something that people are going to use because they're not going to walk around nasty in nasty clothes when you got children. And they're not going to keep buying clothes because they can't wash clothes. So people are going to use laundromats. Now, what you want to think about is you want to consider the condition of the equipment and any necessary upgrades or repairs that may be required. Now, I'm just going to give you a piece of advice. Some of these places, if you buy a laundromat where it doesn't have a maintenance contract on the equipment, you're in for a treat, meaning not a good treat. You need to be looking at facilities where you have a maintenance contract in place and that your machines are not old. You want to make sure that they're digital, and you want to make sure that the services that the laundromat provides are up to date. If not, you're going to be buying new equipment. So think about that as you look at that. Now, this is not for the average investor. The most people that may be looking at this may have maybe one property, or maybe maybe they just live in their primary residence. They're looking for an income producing product or project. What you want to do also with these laundromats is you want to evaluate the potential for increasing revenue through improving marketing, adding value added services, or adjusting pricing. Now, I can tell you right now, for a family of 5 to go and wash clothes, and let's just say right now, family of 4, because my daughter has her own place, her own washer, all that stuff. But to wash 4 people's clothes, you're looking at anywhere from $40 to $60. And if you're washing every 2 weeks, so you're talking about $80 to $90, $100. And what does the average washing machine cost? About $400 to $500. But these individuals who use these services don't know that, or because they live in an apartment, it's out of reach for them. Okay, everybody can't afford the niceties, as my wife likes to say. I like that word, the niceties. So when we're talking about laundromats, that is a cash cow. I don't know how to tell you any other way. Now, here comes my next favorite. Now, this one right here, this is a beast right here. I got certified in the Self-Storage Association, and I became a certified self-storage manager. And the reason why I did that is because I wanted to know, once I bought one, how I needed to manage it. So I'm working on this one right here. So let's talk about storage unit facilities. Look for storage unit facilities in areas with limited competition and growing demand for storage spaces. Now, I will tell you this, 80% of all storage units are owned by mom and pops, meaning they're not owned by big companies. Now, you have different companies out there that are real estate investment trusts. You could buy stock in, i.e. CubeSmart. You got some other places out there as well. I'm just saying CubeSmart because I'm a stockholder. So I'm just saying that, if you want to know what the big dogs are doing, you might want to be able to read their financials. Hint, hint. Consider facilities with a mix of units and types, i.e. climate control units and vehicle storage, to attract a diverse customer base. Now, if you know anything about RV parks, or you know anything about boats, wherever you are on the East Coast, West Coast, or in the city, or in the central part of the United States, this is a big deal, because you can't have an RV in some neighborhoods. It's got to be parked at a park, an RV park, right? Also, people will store stuff in storage units for years, especially after the divorce, after a move to a new city, after a death of a loved one, or just sentimental reasons. So they have what I like to say, no toilets, and tenants can be kicked out in 30 days. And they are cash cows. I repeat, cash cows. Now, you want to evaluate the condition of the facility and any maintenance or renovations needed. Now, I looked at a lot of storage units this past year, and I can tell you, some of these people have some outrageous pricing for their storage units because they know that it's delivering cash flow. But you have to be able to read the financials, and you got to be able to dig into the details. And yes, the devil is in the details, like some people say, or I like to say, God has all the details. And some of the things that they were putting out and telling me that it was doing, because I went and got additional education, I figured out that it was not the case. Now, there are courses out there that you can take through the Self Storage Association where you can actually learn how to do acquisition. And as I move towards that this year, I will let you know what's going on. Calculate the potential cash flow based on the occupancy rates, the rental rates, and operating expenses to ensure the investment is financially viable. Now, what do we mean by that? Now, when you go to most storage units, most of you probably haven't looked at how they make cash flow. So you have your monthly rents. They may have a packing service. They may have a U-Haul or shipping or a moving service, and they may have a mailbox service, or they may have a car wash attached to it. Some might even have a laundromat attached to it. So they may be making money hand over fist in several different places, right? They may even have parking. Now, I want you to think about parking. You can't park your car in your neighborhood if it doesn't have a current tag. So you're working on a car, you might have to park it there, and it might be 30 or 40 or 60 bucks a month to park it there. If you have, let's say, 200 spaces at $60 a month, what are we talking about? We're talking about $12,000 a month. That's what we're talking about, just for somebody to park a car. It's crazy, crazy bananas. Wait a minute, let me recalculate that. I was going in my head, and I don't want to tell you the wrong thing. Y'all be like, financial first responder, are you crazy? Yep, 12,000, I was right. So, now, let me give you some final thoughts. In all cases, conduct thorough due diligence. I repeat, conduct thorough due diligence, including inspections, financial analysis, and market research to ensure the properties meet your, not mine, your investment goals and risk tolerance. Working with real estate professionals such as agents, property managers, and yes, financial advisors like the financial first responder can also help you navigate the purchase process and maximize your investment returns. You see, people, you can't blame nobody if you go out and buy something and then you lose it. You have to do your due diligence. Put a due diligence clause in your contract, where it basically means that if it doesn't meet your standards by a certain amount of time, you can back out. You might put up $1,000 to have that wording, but it doesn't make you lose your total amount of money that you put up. So, you talk to your real estate professional and ask them how the due diligence clause works. Like I said, I'm not a licensed real estate agent, nor do I want to be. Okay. Now, in summary, this has been Mike Barnes, the financial first responder. And a lot of people want to know, hey, Mike, I really need to know what type of investment risk tolerance I have. Well, this one on top, that's the first one. Just copy and put that in your toolbar, take it, and somebody from my staff will get with you, or I'll get with you. If you want to have an hour-long consultation with me, and no, I'm not free, then you would do number 2. If you want to do a 30-minute consultation, you can do that, and it is not free. You can find out more about my financial firm on the website. And of course, please like and subscribe. Mike Barnes, a financial first responder. I thank you for your time, and you be blessed. Have a great day.